Restructuring your organization is often the go-to tool for many of the organizational issues that we face. So it could be poor communication, lack of collaboration, inconsistent performance, lack of alignment, or siloed working. They're time consuming, they're costly, they're full of financial and reputational risk, and they're disruptive to operations as well. They create uncertainty amongst your employees, they erode trust, and they potentially negatively impact employee morale and engagement. So the stakes are so high. Why do organizations keep opting for this? And what are the alternatives? So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to share with you 8 different alternatives to an organization restructure. My name's Garin, and I'm an organization development consultant as part of Distinction. And we work with organizations from across the different sectors and of different sizes to help them achieve exceptional performance. So each month we do an article for HR Zone where they're regular OD columnists. And this is based on an article that we wrote for them that we researched that looked at 8 different alternatives to an organization restructure. If you want to read the full article, just go to hrzone.com. And then if you look at Garin Rauch, and you'll see we've got a whole area dedicated to organization development and design. So let's look at the 8 different alternatives. So alternative number 1 is to diagnose the underlying issues. So what happens in an organization is not simply a matter of structure or processes or systems, but it's also one of behavior. So how people act, how they interact, how they make decisions. And some behaviors that you see in an organization are so deeply rooted, they can't be modified by structural change alone, by just moving people. So when you're assessing the case for a restructure, it's essential to diagnose and address the fundamental issues rather than just tackling the symptoms. So, for example, we collaborated with a really fast growing, vibrant professional services firm that had even got into the Sunday Times Fast Track 100. And it was really struggling with problematic behavior patterns such as excessive reliance on managers for decision making, and their innovation culture has started to diminish. And even though they'd actually repeatedly reorganized, it had done little to actually mitigate their problems. So to better understand the issue, we actually did some research in the organization. We spoke to the employees for their insights, and we actually found an unexpected influence. So one of their biggest clients was actually a high street bank. And as part of their client relationship, and because it was a highly regulated environment in the bank would regularly send their auditors in to audit the work, their paperwork. And this led to really regular interactions. And what had happened is the high street bank's culture had permeated into the entrepreneurial culture of the professional services firm. So what we did is we actually partnered with the firm's leaders and teams. And without having to restructure, we identified the influence and subsequently guided the firm in recalibrating their culture. Number 2 is optimizing your current structure. So before launching into a restructure, just explore if you've fully optimized your current structure. Whatever your design that you have, whether it's a matrix, whether it's around units and product, whatever, or even functional, they all come with trade-offs. There's no such thing as the perfect design. So for example, if you've got a functional design where you group your employees around specific skills and knowledge, then the trade-off, although the benefit is efficiency, the trade-off is siloed working. And so what you need to do is you need to make sure that you train your managers to actually be able to span boundaries in your organization. And that requires a lot of particular support. And we'll actually have an article coming out dedicated to silo working at hrzone.com. And that'll be coming out, I think, in October time. Number 3 is try agile and incremental approaches. So instead of going for the full scale big bang restructure, which is full of risk, explore the more modern progressive way, agile and incremental approaches. And this allows for continuous improvement and adjustment. So you can do things like you can run pilots, or you can make small changes and then assess what's worked and then go again. So by implementing these small changes and monitoring their impact, it means that the risk is contained and it's more efficient and cost effective. So you're learning your lessons at a small scale before you make it large scale. Number 4 is tackle dysfunctional behavior. So your managers may be struggling to lead in your current organization design well, and it may well be because they need to resolve conflict or build stronger bonds across the units. So if you've got a situation where you've got conflict between different parts of the organization or between teams, or you don't have strong relationships, so rather than sort of redesigning people and moving people, things like building leadership capability through training, so training your managers to actually influence across the organization can be a great help. Improving your governance structure, so creating cross-functional teams and looking about how they're structured and how they're configured and their authority and decision making rights as well, or actually addressing individuals that are uncooperative or units rather than restructuring. So leadership behavior can have a really profound impact on an organization. So if you've got a leader and you do have them that engage in uncooperative behavior, they're really just focused on their particular area and achieving their number. They're often unaware that they're having a big impact upstream or downstream. So to tackle this, some imaginative companies, what they do is they actually temporarily transfer the leader or the offending manager into one of the teams that they're actually being affected by. So by doing that, they can actually start to experience firsthand the impact of their actions, and this increased self-awareness encourages behavioral adjustment. Number 5 is to clean house. So it can be extremely useful to clean up your organization and just put your house in order before tackling the more bigger kind of restructure that is a more holistic approach. So this could mean things like bringing teams together to clarify their expectations of each other, to run regular retrospectives on how they're working together, or agreeing ways of working that just build stronger bonds between them. And you can clarify who has decision-making rights on certain issues, what to do when an issue escalates, and what are the individual shared accountabilities for critical tasks as well. Another thing you can do is review, for number 6, is review non-essential projects and policies. So most organizations have too many priorities, and that's a common fact. And what happens is this actually leads to a lack of focus and a duplication of effort. Everything feels important. It's everything everywhere all at once. So the very act of the senior leaders sitting down and deprioritizing or killing off non-essential projects can really help the organization and liberate resources and energy by bringing real clarity to the whole organization. And also take the opportunity to review policies and procedures that may be holding the organization back. So policies often restrict employee flexibility and agility and initiative, and they're often the scar tissue of previous mistakes that are unlikely to happen again. If you want information and know-how and innovation to flow faster without impediment, you don't necessarily need to change reporting lines and departments. You just need to really get your managers to focus on building an environment of psychological safety where employees feel trusted and treated as adults rather than policed by policies. Number 7 is avoid overusing promotions. So you can actually inadvertently add fuel to the fire and create unnecessary complexity in your organization by overusing promotions to boost employee performance or to reward them for showing initiative. So often you go into organizations and there's just a slew of employees with the senior in their title. And what that does, other than give them a short-term bounce in terms of how they're feeling, what it does is it rarely adds value, but what it does is it adds additional layers of employees, and this leads to confusion and reduced productivity as well. And number 8, and possibly one of the most important ones, and definitely not last but not least, is involve your people. So before you go for the nuclear option, it's really useful to involve team members that represent all levels of the work in testing the assumptions that you've developed that lead you to think that a restructure is the right thing. Now, this is perfectly understandable, but due to the sensitive nature of a redesign or restructure, the process is often restricted to just a few select managers because they don't want people to know, because there's likely to be losers, or people might be moved, or they might lose their jobs. So they keep it to a few select people, and this leads to a phenomenon the military calls incestuous amplification. And this leads to narrow thinking and a failure to understand the complexity of the issues because it's just narrow opinions in there. We're not leveraging the collective IQ. So if you bring your people in who really understand how the organization works, both formally and informally, you can really then start to understand how the organization works, what are the real issues here. And what it also does as well is it actually builds trust, because employees feel heard and listened to. It increases motivation and it increases the chance you're going to generate some innovative ideas. So there you go. There's your 8. I hope you found it useful. So it's just, we really want to leave you with a message that restructuring is not the panacea for your organizational woes. And it's a far from guaranteed solution. It comes with significant risks and costs. And there are alternatives. So the first thing to do is really important just to diagnose the underlying issues before making a substantial move, because behavior and culture can actually impact an organization even more than structure can as well. So number 1 is self-reflect. Spend some time thinking about what are the root causes of the issues you're having to deal with. Are there elements of cultural behavior or inefficient processes at play? And number 2 is employee involvement. So start a dialogue with your employees. Not only will this provide you with valuable insights into the operational cultural dynamics of the organization, it'll help you build trust and motivation and potentially circumvent the need for full-scale restructure. So we hope you found this useful. As we said, we have a monthly article in hrzone.com. Just look up Garin Mouch and you'll find a whole wealth of articles that we've developed there as well. Please follow it. It's a great site. We're full of lots of tips and great articles each month from different experts in different areas. And if you enjoyed this video, we put videos like this all the time. So all you need to do is press the like button and submit to the channel. And basically, if you just ting the bell, and then what you'll do is you'll be notified when the next video comes out. So thank you so much, and we'll hopefully see you again.